ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at ILTV.tv and watch from any device.
Now, Iran aside, another controversy popping up this week. Former United States President Donald Trump and son-in-law/advisor Jared Kushner airing their dirty laundry with former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And it's all documented in a newly published book by Israeli journalist Barak Ravid. But what exactly are the claims and what do they say about Netanyahu? What do they say about Trump? Joining me with the analysis, deputy editor for the Jerusalem Strategic Tribune and former U.S. diplomat Robert Silverman. Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Now, for one, Trump is claiming that Netanyahu was too quick to congratulate President Biden on his election, and Jared Kushner is claiming that Netanyahu blindsided them with the decision to annex parts of the West Bank. Kushner saying that Netanyahu announced the move with support from the United States, but before the move had actually been suggested even to Trump and the rest of the White House. Do you believe the reports?
I don't. Thank you for asking me. I know Barak Ravid's book is out. I haven't read his book, so I have only seen news reports excerpting it, and I don't believe them. Barak Ravid is a respected former Haaretz reporter, but not everything he has said is honestly accurate, and certainly not in those incidents. I can explain why I don't believe them.
So you're saying that this is an exaggeration or maybe a result of miscommunication or a flat-out lie on behalf of Trump and Kushner?
Well, I can't get into the head of the author, Barak Ravid, to understand why he's written this, but let's just put it this way. There was no blindsiding in the Abraham Accords going on. All you have to do is read the Abraham Accords. They're online. They're public information. And
what about for the West Bank annexations or the call to annex parts of the West Bank?
Right. So the Abraham Accords allows, if the Palestinian side doesn't respond to the accords within a certain time frame, it allows Israel to take annexation efforts, and that's right in the accords. And so when Prime Minister Netanyahu announced in last January 2020, that this option was available to him, he was stating what was in the accords, which were public information. And so there was no blindsiding going on. And in fact, the end result of the Abraham Accords was a very positive thing. Let's remember, the Palestinians did not respond to the Abraham Accords. There was the option of that the Accords recognized that Israel could have taken annexation efforts, but what happened is other Arab countries stepped in, Bahrain and UAE specifically, to recognize Israel publicly in exchange for Israel postponing that annexation option. And so Israel did not exercise the option, was waiting to see what would happen. It had the ability under the Accords to do that. So I just dispute the idea that there was blindsiding going on. There wasn't.
So what do you say then? What do you say about this story and what it says about Netanyahu and Trump as politicians? For example, especially if we assume, for the sake of argument, that these allegations are true, would that make Netanyahu, a strong politician in that he did what he felt he knew he could? Is Donald Trump a weak politician for allowing it?
Right. So I would start with that assumption that they were accurate, because I think the reports tell you a lot about the journalistic standards of someone like Barak Ravid. They don't tell you anything about the statesmanship of Trump or Netanyahu. I dispute the report. I don't think it's accurate. And I would leave it at that. I mean, there was not blindsiding going on. The end result shows, by the way, that both sides were extremely happy, and the region itself was largely very pleased with the results of the Abraham Accords. They led to complete realignment of two countries in the Gulf, now in direct relationship with Israel. Other countries like Morocco later joined in. All this is the result of the Abraham Accords. So the end result was positive. The journalistic standards that were exercised in producing this book are what the focus should be on.
All right, so my final question real quick then, again, assuming that Trump did make these comments and it's expected that he is going to make a run for president in 2024, how do you see these comments affecting his election campaign, especially given that it seems to show that, as actually former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert said, that he just goes around taking everything too personally and burning his bridges.
Well, so that's our former president, Trump, and his style is unique. He has never said that he was a standard politician. He was elected in 2016 because he wasn't a standard politician. But look, I've worked with many administrations, both I've been a foreign service officer in both Republican and Democratic administrations. So despite his unique style, I would say that the content of someone taking things personally on a foreign policy level and trying to use them for domestic political gain is something you saw other administrations also do. The Obama administration, the Clinton administration, the George W. Bush administration all tried to leverage foreign policy for domestic political gain. The difference is the style in which Trump did it is somewhat different.
All right, Robert Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.